afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Susan Chekow-Lusignan, Director of Marketing and Program Development for the Friends and Foundation of the Rochester Public Library. Welcome to the first review for our Fall Book Sandwiched In series. We ask that you please silence your cell phones at this time. Our thanks go to those who help fund programs like these through FFRPL, the dedicated FFRPL committee members who curate and help organize these events, our guest speakers who so graciously share their time and talents with us, the library staff who help with our setup and production, and the thousands of people who attend each year. We are live streaming the formal portion of today's program to the library's YouTube channel at Rochester Public Library, New York. If you need to access the induction loop service in the auditorium, please adjust your hearing aid to the T switch. FFRPL raises funds, presents programs, supports special projects, helps to create specialized spaces, and purchases supplemental materials and equipment for the Rochester Public Library. We also manage restricted funds that provide supplemental materials support to 62 eligible libraries in Monroe, Ontario, Wayne, Livingston, Orleans, and Genesee counties. Here are just a few recent examples of our work. We raise funds through donations to an annual campaign, capital campaigns, grants, planned gifts, and revenue from book sales on-site and online. If you are on our mailing list, you should have recently received our fall campaign letter, and it is also posted on our website. We present programs, of course, like today's Book Sandwiched In Review. We support special projects and exhibits, like the Art of the Book and Paper show, now on view across the street in the Rundell building. The reception for that exhibit will be next Wednesday, September 17th from 5 to 7, with the awards presentation promptly at 6. And FFRPL is a founding sponsor of that exhibit. We help to create specialized spaces, including RPL Go, the library's new mobile library. You can visit RPL Go at Central this Saturday, the 13th of September, from 12 to 4:30. FFRPL provided financial support for RIT students to create product prototypes for the vehicle and also bought a set of laptops for that specialized space. And finally, FFRPL purchases supplemental materials and equipment for the library, including Empire Passes that patrons can borrow for free access to hundreds of New York State parks. And we thank our donors who make our work possible. Today, Dan Mason will review Homestand, Small Town Baseball and the Fight for the Soul of America by Will Bardenwerper. Batavia, New York hosted its first professional baseball game in 1897, and the Batavia Muck Dogs endured for decades. When Major League Baseball shut them down in 2020, the town fought back, reviving the Muck Dogs as a summer league team comprised of college players. Dan Mason is the general manager for the Rochester Red Wings. The 2025 baseball season marked his 36th season with the Rochester Red Wings and his 30th as the club's general manager. You might not know that he helped run the team in Batavia for 10 years. His talk today will combine some of his thoughts on the book, as well as his firsthand experiences in Batavia and in Rochester, including what prompted Major League Baseball to remove those teams. Please join me in welcoming Dan Mason to our podium.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks for having me, everybody. I appreciate it. It's great to see some familiar faces out here in the crowd and some Wings swag and some White Hot swag. I see you. Nice going. But great to be here. And yes, as Susan mentioned, I've been working for the Red Wings for a couple years now. And over the course of my career with the Wings, in 2008, we were approached by the Batavia Board of Directors, Batavia Baseball Board of Directors. They had some significant debt. They were having, a lot of questions about whether or not they would be able to operate in 2008. And Naomi Silver, much like her father in 1956 saved the Red Wings for Rochester, she saved baseball in Batavia back in 2008. And we took over running the operation of the Batavia Muck Dogs. So I said, Naomi, do you want me to still be the GM for the Red Wings? And she said, yeah. And you can help run the Batavia team. So I said, all right, that sounds fun. But it was, it really was, and my job is truly a labor of love. And to get a chance to do that in Batavia to help those people keep their team going, it was really, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of, my wife is a saint. I didn't really see her at all that summer because when the Wings were on the road, I was in Batavia helping to get their season going. And when we took over Batavia, it was not in great shape. Both the finances of the team, but also can everybody hear me still? Okay. But also just the physical structure of the ballpark was in rough shape. So really I spent, along with my hardworking, passionate staff, I spent about 3 weeks out in Batavia painting the stadium, painting the clubhouses, the dugouts, cleaning everything like crazy, working on the field. So it was really, this book talks a lot about how the man and woman who saved baseball in Batavia and got it going with their college summer baseball league. But in 2008, the Red Wings had to do that for Batavia, and we were really proud to do that. We had signed a 10-year agreement, and at the end of that agreement, Major League Baseball decided they were going to run the team, and the league was going to run the team in the league. So we stopped running the operation, I believe, in 2017, and then they ran it for a couple years, and then COVID hit. And after COVID hit, it was really devastating for minor league baseball, and every industry in the world, right? But for us, 2020, we didn't play one game, and so we really had to at the Red Wings. Nor did Batavia play a game. And every team in minor league baseball was hurting. And it coincided with the time that Major League Baseball, their agreement with minor league baseball at the time was up. So Major League Baseball ended up taking over minor league baseball and running all of minor league baseball. And part of that, they decided to try to limit their expenses, and they got rid of some of those lower level minor league leagues like Batavia. But when they did that, they also offered all those cities the opportunity to start up one of these college wood bat league, basically like a college all-star team league to play in all those communities. And many of those communities are doing great with those teams and those leagues now. I think this book was a fascinating read, and even if you don't like baseball, I don't understand that whatsoever. But even if you don't like baseball, you should read this book because it's really more about people and what baseball can do for a community than it is about the actual games, the balls and the strikes and the hits and the errors and the walks and the strikeouts. Most of this book, I think, is and by the way, I'm not a professional book reviewer. Let me just get that on the record. I roll hot dogs and I roll tarps and make hot dogs for a living. So, not a book reviewer by trade, but I love this book because it was, first of all, it was about Batavia, and it featured a lot of the people that I met when we were running the team in Batavia. Bill Kaufman, whose brother Mike is a good friend of mine. Mike runs Eastview Mall, and Bill is probably the biggest proponent of Batavia, New York that you'll ever meet, and he goes into great detail about that in the book. The Faneras, who are great supporters of the team, and so many other great people in Batavia that supported the ball club while we were out there. And this this book, like I said, it's really not about baseball. It's about how baseball can bring people together. And I've always thought of our ballpark as a place where people go to kind of forget about whatever is bothering them in their lives, right? Nobody has a perfect life. If they say they do, I guarantee you they're lying, right? Everybody's got stuff going on to different levels at different times of their life. And I've always thought that the Red Wings and baseball and sports in general can serve as a great distraction to take you kind of out of the reality that might be bumming you out or the things that might be troubling, right? I don't enjoy balancing my checkbook, right? I don't enjoy that. There's other stuff that comes up that I don't enjoy as part of my job. Now, overall, I love my job. But we all have things, right? Whether it's be at school or our jobs or family or work, whatever. The ballpark has always been that 3 to 4 hour respite to get away from, escape from all that, and just kind of relax and clear your head, clear your thoughts, and focus on something that you don't really need to, it's just fun, right? And no matter what happens in a game, I should say this too. My title is general manager, but it could be director of fun, because I can't control what happens on the field. I can't make trades. I can't sign free agents. I can't get rid of players that are either jerks or not any good, right? Those decisions are not mine to make. Those are all handled by the Washington Nationals, or as I like to refer to them as, America's team. So they're our parent club, and that's the same for every minor league general manager. Our job is to really oversee the business side of the operation and let the major league franchises deal with what happens on the field. So we can't control wins and losses, but what we can control is if you have fun. And what we're there to do is to create great memories for you and your family and your friends. Our goal is to make sure that when you leave those gates, whether the Wings win or lose, that you had a good time and you feel it was worth your time and it was worth your money. Two things that we value a great deal, right? And I think this book really backs up my belief that that's our job, is to make sure that people have fun whether the team wins or loses. And I think the author here uses baseball as sort of a backdrop to kind of keep the story going. But what the story is really about is about how baseball brings this small community together, right, in Batavia. I grew up working at Silver Stadium, and in Rochester, New York, and I grew up in Webster, where life is worth living. Some of you might have heard that before. So I always been accustomed to kind of bigger crowds and a bigger operation in AAA baseball, one step below the major leagues. But having gotten the chance to work in Batavia, it was an eye-opening experience. I mean, there was games sometimes where we'd have, 400 people there, and it would be a beautiful night. I'd be like, where the heck is everybody? And finally, the people in Batavia would remind me, we only have 13,000 people that live in Batavia. And I'd be like, oh, okay, well, if you take that, that's not a terrible percentage then, right? So I think what the book does is really, again, you don't need to love baseball, because there's just anecdotes about the games themselves. And he basically takes every chapter is a game. And part of that chapter is just a snippet of what happened in the game. But those parts don't even really matter. After I was done, I remembered one guy who had slumped the whole year, hit a big 2-run homer, and he was kind of the heart and soul of the team, and you felt great about him, right? But all the other things that happened, he doesn't get into great detail about the games themselves, other than if they won or lost. But what he does get into great detail is about the characters in the ballpark that make minor league baseball such a great and welcoming place for people in their community. It's a place where everybody can go, right? And one of the things that he talked about, which really struck a chord with me, was it doesn't matter what your political views are, even today. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter how old or young you are. The ballpark is a place where we can all go and be friends. And in today's America, that's, unfortunately, it's becoming less and less of a reality, right? And that's one thing that I preach to my crew at the ballpark is I don't care why you came, right? And I don't care where you went to college, and I don't care where you went to high school. I mean, I hope you didn't go to Aquinas, but even if you went to Aquinas, I don't mind. I'm just kidding, all right? But just trying to make my point. And I gotta take a second to point out that I did go to McQuaid Jesuit. But anyways, I digress. It's thank you. But it doesn't matter, right? If you're a Democrat or a Republican or independent, it doesn't matter if you're Jewish or you're Catholic or you're Muslim. It doesn't matter if you're gay or if you're straight. Everybody can go to the ballpark and have a great time and hug each other and high five. When a guy hits a home run, everybody goes crazy, right? When we win a game, everybody goes crazy. When we lose a game or we make an error, everybody groans, right? We're all in agreement about this one thing. Hey man, we're all here to have a great time tonight. So let's forget about all the other stuff that's going on. When we leave these gates, we might not like each other very much, right? Or we may disagree. But that's okay. It's all right. The ballpark brings people together. And I think that's one of the things that struck a chord with me. He mentions about there's a couple in this book, two women from Buffalo that drive to Batavia for every game. One of them's African American and a lesbian, and one of them is married with kids, and they come to every game together, right? And they come into the ballpark and they hug this ex-Marine security guard that is about as right-wing as you can be, and they hug each other every game, right? Where else would you find that in today's world? Pretty much nowhere, right? But the ballpark can do that. It can bring communities together, even if it's for 3 or 4 hours. Forget about all the other stuff on the outside that's going on. Come on, let's go to the ballpark and have a great time. Let's share a hot dog. Let's share a beer or a soda. I can't wait to see who's going to sing the anthem tonight, right? Or who's the veteran that's going to get honored as the veteran of the game tonight. How many high fives is the mascot going to give out tonight, right? Man, I hope I catch a T-shirt tonight. All those kind of things that elicit memories, and that's really our job as operators, is to elicit memories and to bring people together. And I think the crux of this book, to me at least, and some people might disagree. Like I said, I am not a professional book reviewer. But to me, the crux of this is about how baseball and how a ballpark can serve as a great conduit to bring fans together, to bring people together of all walks of life. And the other thing that struck me is that there's all kinds of characters, right? Every ballpark in America has certain characters that make their place unique. And those of you that come to games, Priscilla and Richard, right? You're there all the time. We have a guy that yells taco, 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 taco to try every time the Taco Bell K-Man shows up at the plate. So we pick a guy on one of the bad guys every night is the Taco Bell K-Man. If he strikes out, the whole place gets a free taco, right? And more often than not, if he strikes out, it is the loudest ovation of the entire game. But Larry the Taco Man, he yells taco, taco, taco every time that guy comes up to the plate. He is a ballpark character. He's beloved. We have the greatest vendor in the history of vending, a guy that drives from Buffalo to Rochester with a cone on his head. And that's his only shtick, right? Although if you do get a warm beer from me, you drink it for free. That's his line. He's the greatest vendor in the history of sports, as far as I'm concerned. We have Uncle Phil, who greets you in the VIP parking lot. He's about 5'0". He's shorter than me, which is hard to do. But he's the most friendly, loving guy you'll ever meet. And even though he may have met you one time or you're meeting him for the first time, he'll introduce himself as Uncle Phil, because he's everybody's Uncle Phil and he loves you. What a great way to be welcomed to the ballpark, right? We have so many fans over the years. Many of them have passed, unfortunately, but we had a guy, Ed Blasco, who wore shorts to every game. It could be literally 32 degrees, and I'm not even exaggerating. Ed would have his corduroy shorts on. And but people like Ed and other fans like Ed made going to our ballpark unique. And other fans who came 4 or 5 times a year they couldn't wait to see the Conehead, or they couldn't wait to see the guy with the shorts who did the attendance guess, or Grant Anderson, or Spikes and Mitzi, obviously. But every ballpark in America has characters, and this book really, to me, is more about the 6 or 7 people that he views as those characters that kind of keep the ballpark unique in Batavia, keep it going. It's really their story to me, and it really struck a chord with me because I've met some of them and I've gotten to know a few of them, but it made me think about people that I take for granted every day, because I see them every day at the ballpark, right? And I love them. They're like family to me, right? So they're not unique to me anymore. But as I step away, and this helped me kind of step away from my gig and make me realize like how special and how lucky I am to have these characters that if I wrote a book, Red Wings Homestand, that I would feature in the book. And that's what our book would be about, is people like Uncle Phil and Conehead and Ed Blasco and Larry the Taco Man and Joe Paris and so many others, right? That invest so much time and so much energy into coming to games because they love it. They just love the communal feeling of being there and being a part of something. All of us, no matter who we are, we want to be accepted. We all want to be a part of something. And I think the Red Wings community at Innovative Field, it makes everybody feel like they're part of something. And whether you're a season seat holder or you come once or twice a year, or once or twice every 2 years, shame on you, everybody wants to feel like they're part of something bigger in life, right? And that's what we try to do. And I think that the author, Will, here did an amazing job of painting a great picture about how valuable minor league baseball can be to a community. And quite frankly, Major League Baseball, I'm sure that there's characters at Major League ballparks as well. But it's just so huge that you don't recognize them as much, right? It's hard to miss the guy yelling taco at the top of his lungs, right? Because you can hear him no matter where you're sitting in the ballpark. You can see the guy in shorts even though it's, everybody else has got parkas on, right? So what's unique about minor league baseball is the characters that shape our ballpark and our experience for everybody that comes. And we want to make sure that everybody that comes to a game is comfortable and that they love it, right? And that they have fun whether we win or whether we lose. Winning is more fun, no doubt about it, right? But even if we lose, we want to make sure you have a great time and it was worth your time and worth your money. So I'd be happy to... Questions? Oh, pull a name first, okay. Sure. We have 6 games left. Now this is going to seem like a fix. Priscilla won. Priscilla Astafan.